We're going to explore the real conversations behind leadership, growth, and the moments that shape how we show up in the world. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, you're learning, you're growing, you're taking courses, building something meaningful, and still not being seen, trusted, or getting paid for your work, this conversation is for you. Because leadership today is not just about what you know. It's more about being trusted and feeling connection with our audience and others around us. And most people are getting this wrong. So today I'm joined by Christine Blosdale, also known as the Expert Authority Coach, with over 25 years of experience, including work with AOL and Microsoft. She helps entrepreneurs and leaders become visible, trusted, and getting paid for what they already know. Christine, welcome. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Many of my clients listening to this podcast are parents and caregivers, as well as therapists and trainers. After the people are doing the work, they are deeply caring for others. They are skilled, and yet they're invisible. What's actually going on nowadays?
I think it's a combination. We did come out of that COVID. I think we still suffer a bit of PTSD from the COVID days of not being super certain about the future. And definitely right now with the situation that's happening right now, there's war, there's talk of scarcity, and there's a feeling right now, I think with a lot of people is, oh, I've been here, I've seen this before, and so I need to get prepared. A bit of that fear that is underlying, which is not a great motivator for creativity and things like that, because there's that sort of desperation feeling. I'm here to say that there's a few things that are changing that we can embrace. I want to encourage your audience to work smarter, not harder, because when you work smarter, you're also able to free up some of that creativity. We're all sitting on so many things that we just don't see. So that's why we need maybe a coach or a mentor who can look from a lens that's much bigger than our own, because we're just in this little tunnel many times. I tell a lot of my clients, I say, do you know you're sitting on a best-selling book? And they don't see that because they don't see themselves as an author. I didn't see myself as an author. I have 5 bestsellers already out. I'm working on my 6th book now. And I never saw myself as a writer or an author because I couldn't imagine sitting at a blank Word doc and coming up with things. And I thought I had to be like a Tom Clancy. I needed to have a 500-page novel. You can create a bestseller based on your expert authority, on your knowledge. And it can be if you've overcome an obstacle, if you had a health scare and you've overcome that, you can write a book about it. If you're a therapist and you've been working with clients and you know of a few ways that really turn their lives around and makes a big impact, you can write a book about that, right? Many years of doing webinars and workshops with social media and branding and helping people on their website and their messaging. I have so much information that I have written so many books already. And I do it in a way where I get to use technology and not have to sit at a blank Word doc. And I can take the things that I do and what I'm passionate about, which is speaking to people on podcast shows like yourself, on stages, in webinars, workshops, and I could take that content and turn it into books. And if they're a bestseller, great. But we're sitting on so many amazing things that we can create. It's just that we need sometimes that outside person to look in and go, you could do this, you can do that, come on.
So is it fear, overthinking, or something deeper?
I think it's a combination. I think it can be fear. The fear comes from what we call imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is something we all suffer from time to time. I've had imposter syndrome at a critical time. And I found that once I worked my way through it, on the other side of that fear and worrying about what people are going to think, what are people going to say about me? What if I mess up, right? On the other side of that was a whole new career for me. I got 20 years in broadcasting because I sat through that imposter syndrome and said, well, I got to try it. I got to see what it's about. But it's uncomfortable in the beginning because you're trying something that you've never done before. So some of my clients who are transitioning a lot of times from a leadership position in a company, right? They're a manager or director or CEO and moving into their own business, they get very uncomfortable with trying things that they're not used to because overachievers are the ones that feel the imposter syndrome the hardest because they're so used to doing everything right and by the book and getting straight A's. They're the ones that are like, oh no, I don't think I can do that. I've never done that before. And I'm worried about how I'm going to look. And here's the thing. We are in a time in human history where authenticity and truthfulness is rewarded handsomely because we see our bullshit detectors are on full alert, and we know when someone is lying. We know when someone is embellishing the truth. We know, we can feel it, and it's our intuition as well. So being authentic and trying something, and even if you stumble, saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe I tried that. And I say that when I do workshops. Sometimes I forget to hit record. I was going to send everybody the recording of this workshop, but I forgot. It happens to all of us. That brings people closer to you because they realize she's human.
And I work also with leaders, and sometimes leaders have been put in a position, as you were, Christine, when you landed a position at this station. Now you're leading and you're managing. So when you work with someone, what is the first shift you help them make? Maybe new leaders, managers, or someone looking to write a book.
I say to them, especially if they have a bit of that fear, I don't know if I can do that. I'll sit down with them and I'll say, listen, it's not about you. It's not about you. And they'll look at me like, okay, wait, I hired you to work with me about my branding and my presentation or my messaging. And I said, it's not about you, darling. It's about the people that you claim you want to serve. So if you don't show up, those people, let's say if it's a fitness coach, those people that you claim you want to help to live healthy lives and long lives and to lose the weight or feel better in their bodies, they're not going to get your wisdom. And they might even go to somebody who might cause harm, who's not going to get them to their goals, and they're going to feel disappointed, right? Or worse, have something not great happen. So for all of my leaders and speakers and coaches, we need to get you out of the way. You need to get yourself out of the way so that you can serve the people that you want to serve. So it's not about you. It's not about how you look. It's not about your logo. It's not about the colors that you use in your branding. And it's about that energy, that vibe that you put out. But it's about attracting those people that are going to hear your message and focus on them. It takes the pressure off when they focus on, if you want to work with children, if you want to improve your community, and if you're a leader, if you're in management, it's really about the people that are looking to you for guidance, but also what the end product is. So for some people, it's making sure that they provide services for the community, for different organizations. That's what you need to focus in on.
So Christine, and there's a group of folks I recently worked with, and they're all trainers. They have their own business and they are parenting coaches. However, they see themselves as trainers and looking out to get some business, obviously. They don't see themselves as leaders. This is their own company. This is their own brand. So what are some of the steps? What is this about where you see yourself as not enough? How often do you find folks like that? And what do you do to help them recognize their full potential?
Well, I congratulate them on their first step, which is actually seeking myself out, or seeking someone who is skilled in seeing the gems that they have. The very first things that I do with my clients, it doesn't matter if we're trying to get them booked on podcast shows or interviews on radio and television, is we create a media kit for them. And the media kit, or press kit, but the media kit forces us to put the highlights of our career, the highlights of who we are, what we've accomplished in a very small space. So you don't go on and on. You don't say where you went to high school and you married your sweetheart. We take the gems that are going to be put in your crown that make you an expert at whatever it is that you do. We make sure that we put that in there. We also make sure that we clearly know who we are and who we serve and how we help them. Those are the three things you've got to be crystal clear. I'll take myself as an example. I am the expert authority coach, and I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, leaders. I help them get seen, get trusted, and get paid for what they already know. That's my mantra. That's my mission statement. And if we are going into business for ourselves, if we are looking to get new clients, we want to have a mission statement or a mantra like that we can say at the drop of a hat or in our sleep, so that we know we can communicate that to the public, right? This is who I am. This is who I serve. And then you can tell them how you get there, how you help them get there. But the media kit is one of the most important things. And I've mine printed up so I can look at it. I've been doing this for many years. I still have my media kit right next to my computer. So it reminds me of who I am and who I serve. On the back side of it are suggested topics and suggested questions. And that's going into individuals focusing in, being clear, focusing in on the things that you want to talk about, or you want to have an interviewer or someone who's talking to you to bring out. That way you can say, this is what I want to cover. Can I cover other things? Absolutely. But these are my specialties, right? So you make it clear. There's nothing worse than going to someone's website and not knowing what they do or who they serve or how they do it. People leave those websites because it's too confusing.
So let's pause here, because this is an important moment. There is difference being an authority and being trusted. You just talked about that not too long ago. And I think many leaders confuse the two. How do you see that?
I think part of it is that authenticity, is that when you are being authentic, your trustworthiness is brought up quite a bit. It's also another mantra that I have on my website is at the very bottom of every page. It's just because it's important for me to have that on every page, but it's not my main message, right? It's not the top message, but it's this. Remember this. If you're not seen and you're not heard, you're not hired. It's a reminder that we have to get out of our house. We need to be seen. That means on social media, yeah, but that also means maybe your local business chamber or volunteering for opportunities that are out there. We need to be seen and we need to be heard. And that is the power of video. That's the power of being a guest on a podcast or having your own podcast. A lot of my clients, their personalities, and they've got great follow-through skills. I set them up with their own podcast. I say, you need this as your platform. And you know, Yogi, better than anybody, it's a wonderful platform because you get out there and your name and who you serve gets out there, but you also get to meet some amazing people, some maybe even make new friends, lifelong friends, but you get to open your world and you're opening up the world of your audience to new people and new ways of thinking. And that's very powerful because then the audience trusts you because you've brought those people to their lives. Right? So being seen and being heard are vital. And that's way is people know that you exist. And if they know you exist, then they might want to be curious as to what you do and reach out to you.
There are so many things out there right now, and it is important for us to be able to stay clear on exactly who we are so that others can find us amongst so many things and offerings that are out there. Christine, when does authority fail?
When does authority fail? Well, I think if people have a bit of ego, if there's any arrogance or ego put into it, then it doesn't taste right. It doesn't feel right. And that's what I say when I encourage my clients to show their expert authority. And we do it in several different ways to express that. But I say that it has nothing to do with you being arrogant or egotistical. And most of my clients aren't. The people that resonate with me they don't have that, right? But we as human beings, we know when someone's embellishing, we know when someone's lying, and we know when someone is egotistical. You want to make sure that the energy that you put out is congruent with who you are, and it's going to attract the certain person. There's a lot of folks out there that are loud and boisterous, or folks that are loose with foul language, or their personalities are big and large, and that's fine for them, but that's not for everybody. So we need to figure out, and when I talk to someone on a consultation, it's 30 minutes, but in that 30 minutes, I can get a good picture of that person's personality, and they might be soft-spoken and quiet. Then we're going to work on getting them seen and heard a different way than someone who's a bit more large, right? So it just depends on the personality.
When often folks act like the authority because they might misinterpret what people are looking for, how do they truly build trust in real and human way? You spoke about it a little bit, but let's kind of help folks who are trying out social media marketing. They've seen something, they're trying to mimic, and they come off looking very different than who they are.
Yes. Well, the first thing is, please don't compare yourself to others. If someone else's style or the way that they're appearing in social media, you don't need to copy that, right? You need to be your own unique self. And that uniqueness is very appealing in these times. So I think that's super important. The other thing is also telling your potential clients or the public that you understand where their problems are. I have a client of mine who's in my accelerator program who's a therapist, and he specializes in alcohol addiction and pornography addiction. Part of the reason why he is such an amazing therapist is because he suffered through the same. His life was run by alcohol and pornography. So with his clients, he can be that kind ear who understands, who's not going to judge. He knows those triggers. He knows what it feels like and the shame that can be a part of that. He's got a very unique perspective. But if he didn't say that on his website or when he's talking to people, you wouldn't know. So sharing those things that we understand. So that's why I say, I understand what it's like to have imposter syndrome. I've gone through it, right? Understand what it's like to be overwhelmed and to not know. People say, I need to post here. I need to have a LinkedIn. I need to have a podcast. Where do I start? Understand that. So we need to tell our potential clients or customers that we understand where they're coming from and what their needs are, because we ourselves have experienced it. That opens it up and connects with people so strongly. It's important.
Essential. Being true to yourself and having your strengths at your fingertip, as you mentioned, even on your brochure, just identifying that. In Adlerian psychology and positive discipline work, we often say people move towards connection, not control. That applies in leadership as well, doesn't it? It's where we sort of make that shift, understanding ourselves, and therefore we could understand others. And we hear this often. So I'd like to talk about folks say, I take many courses, I know so much, but I'm still not moving forward. And they come to you.
Yes. Well, and I want to take a step back because I do want to talk about that leadership and the importance of connecting. Okay. So as an example, when I was working at this radio station in Los Angeles, public radio station, lovely, a lot of volunteers, but the staff were paid. And I had noticed through my many years there, many different management coming through. And the ones that were not walking around communicating with staff, the ones that stayed in the office, closed the door, didn't have a clue at what we did. Didn't know. They just knew that these were staff and they needed to say, this is our goals. No connection at all. And no personal connection. Like, do you have a family? What do you do on the weekends? What do you enjoy? What are your hobbies? None of that. It's all business, business, business. Those people had no connection to staff. And so when times got tough, staff didn't feel that connection, that heart connection. They were like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm done. I'm out of here. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to be the general manager for 1 year because they needed somebody that they could trust. They asked me to be, and they said at first it was just a couple weeks. And then it ended up being a full year. I had the imposter syndrome too. I said, I'm a producer. I'm an on-air host. I am not a manager of a radio station with FCC and the board members and all this. If I look at an Excel sheet, I want to vomit in my mouth. I am not a budget person. I'm a creative. But what I noticed was that my door was always open. And I would talk to somebody, and if they were having a problem, I'd say, let's go next door. Let's get out of the station. Let's go next door and have a bite to eat. Or let's get out of here. Let's take a walk. And you can tell me what's going on. And I had already known a bit about their personal things, but I had gone around and I asked those employees, I know we're paying you to do this job, XYZ, but is there something else here that you really would like to try, that you'd be more interested in? And for the most part, a lot of people said, no, 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 I'm fine here. But then there were a few who said, I'd love to have my own show. It could be in the middle of the night, doesn't matter. I really love music and I love mixing. Okay, well, let's try. So it's getting to know and those people, when you're in a bad situation, they come out and they support you. It's because you're connecting with them. It also means that if you're walking down the hallway and there's a piece of trash on the floor, you bend down and you pick it up. You don't say, oh, I'm the general manager. Your staff see you doing those things and they go, okay, if she can do that, I can do that. It changes the dynamics. Now, I'm sorry, you had asked me a question and I wanted to go back to that because it was so in my head about that disconnection versus just getting to know the people that you surround yourself with.
So it was more about folks that said, look, I've taken so many different courses. I know so much and I'm not moving forward. So why does this happen?
I call it course-itis or shelf help. We've all done it. Bought into a course and said, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to try and do that. That's why I don't offer courses or anything like that, because it can be a very lonely journey. You're excited. The person who offered this course or training, you're like, oh, that sounds great. But then you get into it and it's like, oh my goodness, module 1, check. And it by yourself, right? So that's why I prefer group coaching or one-on-one private coaching. I do not do courses because I know I don't finish courses and it's a very lonely experience, right? But for those people who have, and you have done that, good on you. But we need to apply those things. If you have taken a course, ask yourself, what did I do with that? What did I learn from that? What did I apply to my business, the work that I do? A lot of times it's that shelf help. It's the same thing when you get excited about buying a book. Sometimes people get excited about buying a book and then they get the book and then they never crack it open. Don't spread yourself out too thin. I have clients that I want to take this course, get this credential. And what happens is they're so spread out, they don't do anything on their business. You need to take it in chunks, whatever it is that you're trying to learn and grow. You take it in chunks, but you need to go after that low-hanging fruit. Do the activities that have the biggest return on your investment, the ROI of your energy, your money, your time, your focus. What is going to bring the biggest return? For people that work with me, one of the biggest returns on investment, we take a look at your digital footprint, we go to your website. And if you don't have a website, I tell you, you need to get a website. There's other ways. You can do like a landing page and things like that. But that's the first place that we work. We go to the website and I'll say, this is working. This is great. You need an outside person. You've been looking at your website for too long and you think it looks great because it's got all the colors and the spirally things. But as an outsider coming in, I'll tell you the story of one of my clients is a therapist. And this is a different therapist. I don't know why I have so many therapists, but this is a different therapist. And she lives in this very unique small town. And there's a landmark bridge that's there. Everybody goes, oh, how to get to the store. You go to the bridge and make a left, or you go to the so-and-so bridge, and it's very, very iconic. So I went to her website and we had a session. I said, darling, the only thing I see when we pull up the website is a huge picture all the way across the whole screen of this bridge. And it's dusky. It's before nightfall. So it's not very bright and cheery, but I was like, so there's a bridge and then there's water. And I said, you're dealing with people with depression and anxiety. And I said, do you know what? When I see that bridge, do you know what I think? And she looked at me and she goes, no. I go, yeah. She said, well, I meant it. It's a landmark for where I live, but also I'm the bridge, right? I'm the connect. I said, no. When I see that, I think if someone's going to jump, or it makes me feel like jumping. And she said, I can't believe that that's the message that I was putting out there. And I said, that's okay because you didn't know, right? Now I said, what would be better instead of seeing that bridge to jump from, because nobody's going to make the connection that you are the bridge from problem to solution, right? I said, what would be better is we do a 30-second, 40-second video of you and you're welcoming people to your website. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. Thank you for coming here. I know you've been struggling with anxiety and depression. I welcome you to book a consultation with me so we can find out where you want to go so your life is better. But I said, when you start talking and your eyes are looking at the camera, you're bringing people in. They're going to be able to trust you. They don't trust that bridge. The bridge is an object, right? But the video is going to bring people in. And so she said, okay, you're right. When she actually thought about it, she was like, I've had that up for a year and I didn't even think about that.
Curious to learn, did she create a video?
Yes.
Christine, what's the difference between knowing and doing? What does that bridge look like?
Well, I think we can know certain things. We can know that, hey, if I really sat down and pulled my expert authority together, I could create a book. And it's so easy today to self-publish your book and have it become a bestseller. It's so easy. And if you need to have tutorials on it, you can look up YouTube. You can have someone like myself guide you through the process. But knowing that you do need to show up on video, that you do need to start creating that video content so that you can gain the trust of people. An image with text or something ChatGPT put together for you and you throw it up on social media, that's not connecting with people. You need to do certain things. Knowing that and then actually doing it are two different things. A lot of times people say, one day I'll work with a coach. One day I'll create a video. One day I'll write a book. One day. And one day doesn't come because we get sidetracked. The imposter syndrome will keep us away from doing that. But also we just get too busy. We busy ourselves with so many things that nothing gets done. So my job as a coach is to sit down and to make sure that each and every week we get stuff done. And the very first thing is working on your branding, working on your messaging, and making sure that your website, your social media, all of that is reflective of who you really are. And it's saying the right messages, right?
Yeah. So in terms of having someone use ChatGPT and put it on social media, it doesn't work. Why would that not work?
Well, because it sounds like everybody else, because there's lots of people that are using ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT. I call mine Charlie affectionately. Charlie knows me very well. But I use ChatGPT to enhance my work, not to replace it. And that's what I say to my clients. Use AI to enhance what you already have. That AI, that algorithm, millions of other people are using the same one, right? So you want to allow it to take what you've already created and make it better and even give it those prompts. Hey, Charlie, here's a blog that I wrote for people who have had a job and they are starting their own business. And it's just a real simple, encouraging article or blog. But here's the thing, Charlie, I want it to really focus in on people who want to be a coach, a life coach, or a business coach. Can you take what I've already written and can you make sure that it's addressing those people and their concerns? And it'll go through and it'll see what holes you have. That's how you can use AI in a good way, but don't let it write for you. People, they're pumping out books every single day on Amazon. There's millions of books being pumped out that people just let AI write for it. And there's no personality, there's no soul in those books. It's just words, lots and lots of words.
In addition to the ChatGPT, we'll have Dr. Constance, and she is going to talk about the safety around ChatGPT and understanding which images and social medias are actually real versus AI generated. So I can't wait for that conversation.
You think about that. Like, what is that going to do? Oh, there's so many questions around that because it's so good. It used to be, they're like, oh, that's AI. You could tell they got 6 fingers on their hand.
Yeah.
Now you're like, that really looks real.
And how can we look for what is not fitting in, especially those who might be listening to this podcast and maybe their business is education. And if they're working with students, these are some of the skills that we're going to have to provide for our children in understanding what's real and what's not. Christine, you help people get paid for what they already know. I think that's where many people get stuck. They have all these amazing ideas. They have all the knowledge. Where can they begin besides calling someone like you? What does that process actually look like for them to sit down and just figure out what is that first thing that they can do to move forward in a way that's going to bring them either income or get clear on their business idea.
Probably the biggest thing that we do right away is when I go to their website, go to their landing page, I look at their offers. And a lot of times, I don't know what people offer. A lot of times, it's so confusing. And I say to my clients, how do people pay you? Oh, well, first they schedule a consultation with me. And then in the consultation, I'll tell them about what I have available. And I said, nobody's going to book that consultation because they don't know if you're $1 gazillion or 5. And they don't know what you offer. So my thing is, you need to be clear. You need to bring people into your world saying, this is what I do. You don't have to say everything of what you do. So I bring people into my world. I don't say, oh, by the way, I can help you create a podcast of your very own. I can help you get booked on podcasts. I can help you write a book. I can help you do TikToks. I don't do all of that. Once they're in my world, then I can tell them that. But I also make it easy for people to pay me. So that means being clear. If you want to book a 1-hour session, here it is. Here's how you can book it. You can pick a day and time to work with me tomorrow. That is clear. You need to be super clear, but you also need to offer something of value. And that is in how you write your offer. Do you just say, book a 1-hour coaching session with me? Well, that's great, but what are you going to do? What does that 1-hour coaching entail? What do I get for that? Other than an hour of you talking with me, what do I get? So you have to be really clear. We think that people are psychic and they're going to know exactly what I do and how I do it. No, you need to be as if your audience is a 5th grader.
So
Speak to them that way.
I think even like in our content, we have to make it digestible, right? That's something that Jane Nelson mentioned on one of the podcasts. Like, make it so that 5th graders can understand it. People are more likely to be successful from what you're trying to preach or train or whatever you have to offer. So what works faster than people expect? I mean, I think there are sometimes you talked about the imposter syndrome and we get in our head. So what's actually a faster way to be productive?
I think probably the best thing is to do that self-inventory. I have a quiz that people can take. It's 2 minutes. It's 10 questions that you should be asking yourself anyway. It's called expertauthorityquiz.com, and you get a scoring of your own expert authority. But these are questions that you need to be asking yourself anyway in business. One of the questions might be, if you were to Google or ChatGPT your name, what would you find, right? Are you one who offers up or volunteers when someone is needed to talk about a particular subject? Are you someone who's like, yeah, I can do that? Or do you wait for the invitation? These are things that you need to ask yourself and see how you rate. Once you've taken that quiz, work on a couple of those things and then come back maybe even in 6 months and take the quiz again and see if you've increased your expert authority in those particular areas. It's really just taking a look and taking action. The shoulda, woulda, coulda. One day I will do this. Don't put it off.
And procrastination. I said that to someone recently. I said, I think we procrastinate. And this person said, I don't think I procrastinate, but sometimes other important things come in and you have to prioritize. So what do people overcomplicate?
Well, that prioritization, isn't it? We're going to do this. We're going to work on this project. We're going to start creating those videos, but we get sidetracked. So I think it's really important to take a look at your I have time blocked out on my calendar. Yes, I have time available for clients, but I also have time available for doing those things that I need to do that I'm not a huge fan of doing. Maybe doing taxes, getting the paperwork done for taxes is not my favorite thing to do, but I need to block out that time. Because if I block out that time and I actually do it and I don't get sidetracked, then I feel so good when it's all done and complete. And that's the same thing with people who are saying, one day I will get a coach, or one day I will do that project, or I will get my website. To block out the time. Say, on this date and this time, I am going to do this particular thing. And don't let anything get in the way of that. Obviously, if you're medical emergency, but you have to put it in your calendar. Block it off and say that this is something that I need to do. Once you get it done, then you feel so much better. I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I reached out to that person or I asked that question, or I went for coffee with that person.
That hesitation piece, that unknown that we avoid sometimes consciously or unconsciously, but we do that. We sometimes have this amazing gift that could be shared, but we hold on to it for way too long. Thanks for that. Taking
Yeah.
that first step, throw it on the calendar and see what happens. If you get any results, please let us know. Christine, let's talk about something real. A lot of the marketing feels forced, scripted, disconnected. Sometimes we use ChatGPT, and others can see this and they can feel that. So why is it that we are now more than ever feeling like we need to perform?
That's that perfectionism, that idea of we need to be perfect. We can't be human. People are rewarding authenticity and realness. I have a client who I'm encouraging, he's never done video. Never, never, never. And I'm encouraging him to do more and more video. And he's like, okay, I'll take it on. Now, in the beginning, he was reading the lines. He looked really stiff, talking like a robot. He wasn't even looking at the camera. He was looking off to the print. And he's like, and the old man in the sea was very upset. And I said, you're not connecting to me at all. There's no connection because you're reading. And he said, but I need to get it right. And I said, what are the key parts of this that you want to make sure that you get across? Well, the name of the book, you know the author, you know the story because you've read the book. So I said, let's do this. Hit record. I set him up in Zoom. Hit record and tell me, as if you were sitting across from me having a coffee, tell me about this book. Don't look at your notes. Don't read anything. Tell me, why do you like this book? And so I'd ask him a question. Hey, Stuart, what about this? What's this book you're holding? Or what about the book that did you love? And then his eyes would twinkle and he would be thinking about, you could see his, in his facial expressions, he lit up like a Christmas tree. And I said, that is what's going to draw the people to that social media video, or if you put the video on your website, but that is going to draw people. He says, yeah, but I stumbled around a little bit with my, I said, no. And first of all, we can always edit if we need to. If you feel like you did a big blooper, we can edit that out. But the feeling, that connection, that's enjoyable to watch. We want to make it so it's enjoyable to watch. If you're stiff bored reading something, you're not enjoyable to watch. So it's really coming from your heart and connecting that way. I think that's way more powerful than just being very stiff and reading and making sure that you do not make any mistakes.
People don't connect with perfect. They connect with real.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So you worked in media, branding, and leadership for over 25 years. Let's talk about something leaders don't always think about, which is reading the room. What should people be paying attention to? Few things you mentioned is know people's names or just know who you're working for, but more than that, what should people be paying attention to as leaders?
I think what you said was really important about reading the room and knowing your audience. As someone who has been in a leadership position, I had many opportunities to speak, to connect with the listeners, the audience, board members, and you tailor your speech or you tailor your conversation based on the audience. I speak very differently. I recently did a speaking event for businesses involved in tourism for this local community. I knew that I was talking to business owners, tourism, bringing people here. The way that I communicated with those people was very different than when I spoke on International Women's Day to a group of women in business. It's knowing your audience. It's knowing who you're speaking to. If you are speaking to a large group of people and they're all different ages and sizes, you still want to get an idea of how they're coming to you. Are they professionals? Are they novice? Are they just people that are interested in what you're speaking about? Know who it is that your audience is actually going to be. That's really important. On social media, each platform is very different. It's got its own personality. LinkedIn is very different than TikTok, right? Put information on LinkedIn that is going to be LinkedIn savvy, and the things that you put on TikTok are going to be TikTok savvy.
So how do you know when something is landing or not, and what signals a strong leader should pick up on?
Well, I think when you're doing anything with the public, especially if you're doing any speaking or public speaking, you will get the people out there who will look at you and they'll do a nod. And it's completely, they don't even realize they're doing the nod, right? They're going, yeah, I hear you. I understand you, right? The ones that are on their phones and they're not paying attention, don't look at them. Don't look at them. As soon as you look at those people and you see that they're on their devices, that's when the imposter syndrome thing can come up. They're not interested. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not important enough. I'm not doing a great job, right? You want to look at those people who are sitting in that front row or who are sitting there listening and they're nodding and maybe they're smiling or they're laughing if you're saying something funny, but they're the ones that are like, yeah, it'll be small sometimes. They'll just kind of go, So that's one way that you can really connect and you'll know that it's landing, whatever it is that you're doing. The other thing is you've got to be consistent. Don't just do one social media post and say, I didn't get any reaction, I'm going to give up. Or social media posts don't work. You've got to be consistent. And you know better than anybody with creating a podcast, you need to keep doing it. You're going to get better. You're going to get more listeners, more subscribers. A lot of times they say the average is like 7 episodes. People do 7 episodes and then they quit podcasting. After 7 episodes, it's not enough. You need to keep doing it. And then you're going to reach the right people and someone will share it. It'll go into different phases, right? But you have to be consistent. Don't just do it once and go, it didn't work. You need to be consistent. So keep at it. Keep at it. That's really important.
Start something, and it's hard because when you're starting out any type of a business, you want to see return on your, maybe the likes and stuff. However, sometimes nowadays, people aren't going to like your things, but they're listening to you and you have no idea. So just having that faith, which is challenging when you're at the beginning stage, and just kind of sticking to it. So who do you help, Christine?
Personally, I help overwhelmed entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, authors. I love authors. And apparently therapists. Apparently I have so many therapists. But what I like about it is that they realize that they need help, right? Therapists are very clever because they're like, yes, I need help. And I'm not going to just go at this by myself and do it wrong. I'm going to actually get somebody who can help me. Thank goodness for therapists. That's really who I help. I've been very blessed to have wonderful clients throughout the years who have stayed with me because I'm always learning and bringing new tools into my world so I can share those with my clients, their family. Monday mornings, I'm excited on Monday mornings because I'm excited to be with my clients or my family.
What changes for them when they work for you? What are some of the highlights that you've seen that brings them joy as well as you?
I think clarity, they see it. They also see what they were doing and why it wasn't working. They're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense now. I think the biggest thing is when I'm speaking to someone and I'll say, no, what you have here is much bigger than what you're doing. And they'll go, what do you mean? And I'll say, what you've got, I know you're working in a very high time intensity, geographically located business. I had a client who's a colon hydrotherapist. Can't get more. That's a lot of time she has to spend with clients. It's relegated to just her clinic in Santa Barbara in this particular location. And I said, oh my gosh, no, you have an international business. And she's like, well, how do I do that? I said, that's what you've been doing, but you're a gut health expert. And she's like, I have been doing it for 40 years. Yes. Okay, then you are a gut health expert. And all of these supplements and proteins and helpful things that you tell me that I should take to help my gut. You can have your own product line. Oh, I can. You can have books. My goodness, who wouldn't want to? All these things with certain clients, helping them create those things. That's where I love helping them create product lines or expanding them. This particular person has a huge following on TikTok, does TikTok lives, talks about gut health, ships her products all over the world. And it was because she allowed me to come into her world and to see what was possible. And then when I told her, this is what we can do. She actually did it. That's the other thing. She took action. I was holding her hand along the way, but she actually said, yes, let's do this. I can do this. And that's the key. That's the key to success. Because I can tell you all day long what to do or what I would do if I was in your position. It takes you to say, okay, let's do it.
Christine, you've helped our listeners with encouragement coming from the heart, being truly authentic for who they are. And we're coming to our close. But before we do, in the show notes, we're going to have something about you and a valuable offer that you're going to give them for having 50% off if they sign up for some program with you.
If they would like, we have a free consultation. That's like a $250 value, but they get it free with me. You can put that link in there. That's the first consultation. But then a private coaching session is a full hour, and I will work with you on whatever you choose. And we can have this after our free consultation. We can decide what's the best thing to focus in on. A lot of times it's the website, right? In that hour, we get a lot done. I'll tell you what is working. I'll tell you what's not working. I will also give you suggestions on the flow, the look, the vibe. So that's an hour session. And it is normally $250 for that hour session. And I will give you the promo code so they can get half off, 50% off. So it's a nice value for them. And it's a great way for them to start working with me and see what's possible. And then you take it from there.
Christine, I brought you in because so many of my colleagues were struggling from taking that first step, and you helped them do that. And I knew that your heart is all about giving and encouraging individuals to realize their own potential. It aligns with my leaders that listen to this podcast because they're also looking at starting something new. And sometimes we just need someone else to help us see things clearly.
Please don't hide your gifts from the world. Don't hide because of that little bit of fear. Okay? You need to be able to show up for those people that you want to serve, and you make a difference. There's only one you. So don't let those voices of, oh, the market is saturated. There are already so many coaches. There's already so many podcasts. That's the ego trying to, it's your subconscious mind just trying to stop you. You need to at least give it a go because you don't know whose life you can impact and change. And we need you. The world needs positive people right now who can make the world better. So I encourage you, please move on that. Just give it a try. See how it works out.
For those who are listening, I am not a client of Christine's, nor is she a client of mine. This is just a podcast encouraging others. Thank you, Christine, for this honest and real conversation. And for those who are listening today, if you're waiting until you feel ready, you may have waited too long. And because leadership isn't about being fully prepared, it's about being willing, ready, and courageous enough to show up. And the word courage comes from the word cur, the heart. And it's so much easier to flow from the heart than to get stuck in the brain. You can find Christine at expertauthoritycoach.com. Read the show notes for more details. There's more information about the 90dayexpertauthority.com. Thanks again, Christine.
Thank you, love. Thank you so much. Been a great conversation. Thank you.
Indeed. I've enjoyed our talk together.
Is at the very bottom of every page because it's important for me to have that on every page, but it's not my main message. It's not the top message, but it's this. Remember this. If you're not seen and you're not heard, you're not hired. It's a reminder that we have to get out of our house. We need to be seen. That means on social media, yeah. But that also means maybe your local business chamber or volunteering for opportunities need to be seen and we need to be heard. And that is the power of video. That's the power of being a guest on a podcast or having your own podcast. A lot of my clients, they've got great follow-through skills. I set them up with their own podcast. I say, you need this as your platform. It's a wonderful platform.